Hi. You know, many people, maybe even I would be in that um, set that would bypass this life course for reason that they figure that my ethical standards are good. I'm an ethical person, so why would I want to attend? But let me just share some thoughts with you, ask you some questions, put some scenarios to you before we actually get in. So let us say that you are the team leader, right? So you have a good team. The team is um, really closely knit to the point where you could almost say that you're friends. Yeah. And so Trevor is a member of the team, but Trevor isn't meeting his targets. He's not performing to this required standard. So, as a team leader and as Trevor's friend, you work with Trevor. You try to find a way to um, cover for Trevor. Maybe even doing some of his work for him so that we keep the team together, we keep um, the relationships going. Now, at what point does it get to a place where covering for Trevor becomes covering up for Trevor? At what point could you be guilty then of putting your personal relations ahead of the company interest, the organization's interest? Is that an ethical challenge? Is that something that you could see might be uh, impacting, moving over into the area of unethical behavior? High standards we're talking about here today. But yes, yeah, because in essence, the best interest of the organization and its stakeholders, maybe including Trevor, would be to take corrective action. See, so this whole idea, when we're talking about the ethical revolution, and we're discussing this whole issue of ethics, it's not necessarily talking about people who are stealing and doing all sorts of crazy things. It could be some really tight issues, and I'm going to share a few more. So let us look at a real estate evaluator. Yes. So you know the individual and you want to get a loan financing. So does the relationship then cause your real estate evaluator friend to add a few more millions to the value so that you can qualify for the loan? Mhm. It's a judgment call. Real estate evaluator as to what you put on the paper. But again, these are where we're looking at the edges of normal action into unethical behavior. What about the accountant, the financial accountant, who hmm, walks within the raindrops now of um, trying to work out the best situation for taxation purposes? Yeah. Yes. Is there a way to present the financial data such that it lowers the level of tax? To what extent then is it judgment, and when does it go over into ethical challenges? All right, so here's another scenario. You overhear sensitive information, but this sensitive information has implications for you, maybe your team, your colleagues, etc. I mean, it's It's information that would really make a difference to a colleague or to a team member or to your whole team. But you overheard this. What do you do with that information? Do you share it? Again, is that ethical? Is that what is required of us? All right. What about procurement? So you are manager, you have a provider, the provider, good company, do wonderful work, etc. Do you steer the business to your friend or not? And is given the fact that you know the quality and you trust the individual, is that not in the best interest of the company to use this individual who is trustworthy, etc.? So that's what I'm looking at in terms of challenges with respect to this whole issue of ethics. Then, of course, we're worried about climate change and the environment now. What if the organization decided to forego an investment in enhancing their environmental practices? Just decided, oh, we can't afford this investment right now, even though there's significant damage to the environment. Those are choices. So the question that we have before us is that, will you be ready to embrace an ethical revolution, where we look at doing the right thing, being on the right side of ethics, and not bypassing things because it's inconvenient. It might be embarrassing. It might require some courage. It might, it might be expensive. So those are some of the questions that we want to look at. I am Trevor E.S. Smith, and I am your guide today as we examine this question of embracing the ethical revolution. And we have kind of laid out the context for you. But some questions here would be, is this relevant really? Is this an issue worthy of your time? So without getting caught up in, there's a lot of hype about corruption and lack of transparency and so on. But is this an issue for you? Is in your space, because people are in different areas, in your space, is this a matter of concern? If someone were to seriously launch a call for an ethical revolution, do you think it has any chance of getting traction? So in this Success with People livecast, we explore ideas around ethical conduct and how we can be active players in whatever ethical revolution there might be on the horizon. Maybe we should join forces and get that going. So the rationale, why am I doing this, is that I just got to a place where it just seems as if truth, even this very simple thing of speaking the truth, seems to be losing its value and importance, and so it occurred to me to, and it came off a follow-up from last week's livecast, where we were looking at the whole question of feedback and the inability, really, for us to, I shouldn't say inability, that's not a fair statement, the reluctance for us to give honest and transparent feedback to our colleagues. And so I'm saying the whole idea of truth came up then. So we want to look at that and just to invite those of you who are hearing this. Obviously, you would be interested to become a part, to not only abide by your own principles, but also to take proactive steps to let others know what's happening and to hold others accountable for ethical behavior. That's basically the quest and my invitation, the rationale behind this. So it has to be looked at from different perspectives. We can't just look at the leaders and just say, for example, in politics, people will look at the politicians and say, politicians, they're so corrupt. But a culture of ethics is a responsibility for all of us. All of us. Yeah. So leaders, yes, need to be responsive and to take requisite action, but we have to behave in transparent ways. We have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to make ethical decisions. And most of all, we have to speak up. We have to be a catalyst for the change that we desire. So together, I believe if we have enough people acting out in ethical ways and holding people to a similar standard, we can make it happen. All right. So let's look at some of the other areas that would make it happen. One of the things that I'd like to emphasize today is that developing an ethical culture in an organization actually goes to the bottom line, and I'm going to show you. So there's a financial benefit. Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive that I'm talking about ethics and all of that, and then tying it up with profit and money. But maybe it's money that makes the mirror gallop. So let's look at the whole question of what is in it, what are the benefits, what are the actual tangible benefits from fostering transparency, accountability, and integrity in our organizations. One of them, of course, is your reputation, and reputation makes a whole lot of difference. Branding, people want to trust a brand, and nowadays, especially with social media, there is an increasing interest in what the brand stands for, So you might have a nice shoe or a nice, whatever it is that you're selling, but if your behavior is not consistent with the values of your potential clients, you're going to have problems. So it is important then that you behave in ethical ways, and then your customers, your clients, your stakeholders will feel more engaged. They feel that, okay, fine, this is an organization that stands for things that I value. And so I will have a long-term relationship with them. So that's the first. And of course, believe you me, you can take that to the bank. You can just think about the brands that you have trusted over the years, and you could see that it makes sense. There is great value in having a strong reputation. The other one is engagement. There are studies that show consistently that 2/3 of employees are not fully engaged at work. And one of the things that could actually have people become more engaged and to keep the talent that you want to keep is to be an ethical organization where people feel as if there are values that are embraced by this organization that I can buy into, that are aligned to my own values. And so that's one of the beautiful ways to retain talent and to engage talent, is to have a message, have a culture that embraces the idea of ethical behavior. Yeah. As we will show you in a little while, then you could also avoid some serious risks, especially legal risks, through your unethical behavior. So, there can be fines, huge fines for unethical behavior from regulatory authorities, or even genuine legal and action, criminal behavior, as we will see. Yeah. So that's Those are some of the benefits, tangible benefits, but there are more, right? Hope I think I double try to get more, so I put it one of them twice. Okay, but also innovation and creativity. Well, how could ethical behavior impact innovation and creativity? If we're in a place where we feel safe, where we feel that we can voice our ideas, where we can actually question, challenge things that are on the table, that will make a difference. That's basically how innovation and creativity flourishes, is that people feel comfortable bringing forward their ideas or saying, no, this is not a good idea. And that's where, by bouncing things around, we come up with better solutions, better products, better services. So that's the whole idea. If we can create a climate in which we look at things from diverse perspectives, and we can empower people to think outside of the box, we are going to get a higher level of creativity and innovation, and actually have a competitive advantage against others who are not as ethically grounded. Same thing with the teams, where there's trust in the team. Yes, where comments are understood from a different perspective. You know that I like to talk about the discerning model of communication and leadership, where people hear people from their preferred behavioral style, and the interaction comes from that. So there's not a lot of mistrust. I understand why so and so says it and how they say it, and it lands in this particular way for me. So those are some of the things then that we gain from having an ethical culture. It goes straight to the bottom line. All right, so the question of whistleblowing. No, I just want to make it clear that standing up, for an ethical culture, this ethical revolution, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a whistleblower, but it does help as well. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm sharing. This is maybe old stuff, but at least it brings back to mind the impact of people who are prepared to say, no, I'm not going to stand for this kind of behavior. And it might be at risk. So remember the famous Sharon Watkins, who really essentially caused a lot of issues, changes at Enron. Basically, I don't want to look at the negative things to say, well, what the company did collapse. But what it looked at then was the unethical practices that were taking place. And as a result of that, Enron had to change their practices and really opened up a whole new dimension as to what's happening in financial activities and how organizations are doing their business. Here's another one. Mark Whitaker, he works with ADM, and there was a whole global price fixing scheme in the agricultural industry. And he actually went to the extent of being an undercover agent, and not necessarily again saying that you have to do this. But his action actually resulted in significant changes in the industry, right? We also have another one, Cynthia Cooper, who actually as well, she was at WorldCom, and she was the internal auditor, and she exposed one of the largest accounting frauds in history. So her action paved the way for increased scrutiny and regulatory reforms in corporate governance. So that's the impact even beyond WorldCom now. People are saying, okay, fine. If this is taking place there, maybe we need to up our game to protect. One of the things that why I put the pictures as well is to show that these are normal people. I mean, these are just normal, simple people who have put up their hands to say, we need to fix this. Right? So the question then is, can we practice ethical decision making? How can we encourage our team members, our organizations to practice ethical decision making? So the whole point of this would be, when we face difficult choices, and at the start, I gave you some of them, where here it is, I overheard information that could make such a difference to my colleague or to my team, or, do I share it with them? Do I share it with them? Those are some of the challenges that we have. But also, when we are making decisions, when we are putting forward our budgets, and we, looking at our growth and so on, are we considering all the implications, especially the ethical implications? Are we discriminating? Are we harming the environment? What are the implications of our actions? Yes. In our attempt to increase profit, are we kind of chiseling on the ingredients in our product? Are we pulling back on some of the services that we could offer in order to increase our profit? Is that ethical? Those are questions that we have to answer. So the bottom line would be, how do we go about making ethical choices and holding the team and the organization to those same standards? That's the challenge that I want to share with you today, is how, to what extent are we willing to be transparent and to be accountable? Those are key pillars of an ethical culture. Accountability especially is a challenge, because when we fail to hold people accountable, it really seems to open up like an invitation to do wrong things, or to abuse power, or to refuse to do the right thing. Yes. So if we're not calling out people, they can continue to do things, figuring that it doesn't matter. No one is looking at, nobody's speaking out about it. So that's part of the job that we have to do, is to look out for absence of transparency, and also to hold people accountable. Speak up about it. Let people know that our eyes are on them. And critically, set the example by demonstrating not only your integrity, but also hold yourself accountable for your actions. When you do the wrong thing, or when you behave in ways that you ought not, be the first to say, I messed up. I was speaking to morning devotion in the prep school, and I was saying one of the things that we have to look at is David in the Psalms is saying, "Search me, see if there's any wicked ways in me." And that's the attitude that we should have. In other words, find fault with me. Look, because I welcome your feedback. I want to be held accountable. So don't just gloss over things. If you see me doing wrong, not only if you see me doing wrong, look to see if I am doing wrong, and hold me accountable. That's an attitude that we could embrace, where we are saying it's not just pushing back or wanting not to be held accountable, but actually inviting the introspection, the analysis. All right. So, of course, this is an ongoing process. Organizations don't just suddenly get up and have a fully ethical culture, because this whole question of ethics has so many different dimensions that there is an encouragement. I would encourage you to study, read up about it, look at what are good ethical practices, understand a little bit more about the standards that should be held, um, should be met, and discuss it. I would suggest that their organization should be having conversations around this. If there are workshops available, if there are online web seminars, go read up about it so that at least there is a knowledge base and you're operating from a different platform. That's one way I think that you could actually contribute to the ethical revolution. And then be an advocate. Be an advocate. Yes. So speak up about it. Let people know that this is an issue of importance and that if we fail to put up some kind of resistance to the current movement, where facts, we're fact checking maybe a whole new industry because people just don't tell the truth, so that's one of the things that we need to do is to share case studies, highlight problems, and to just have an awareness, awaken an awareness of the downward spiral on which we are going right now in terms of integrity, transparency, truth telling, and honesty. That's where we want to go. Make sure that people are aware that a stand against unethical behavior, against lying, against lack of transparency is required of us. So, what have I been saying? The ethical revolution begins with you. And you can participate by just looking at how you function and, of course, by speaking out. Yeah. So, one of the first things we need to do then is also now to get in touch with our own ethical values. What is it that we believe? What are the values that we hold dear? And then put those into effect. Make sure that when we are making decisions, we're considering all the implications. Is this impacting some stakeholders in ways that it ought not to? Those are some of the things that we have to look at. And then be an advocate for accountability and transparency. Yeah. We just talked about the learning, continue to learn about it. And then also take the first step and just make a commitment today. That's all we need to do, is just make a commitment that, something, this makes sense. I'm going to take some more time, be more attentive to the need. Yeah. So we go back even to the feedback issue that we are discussing. Do I just ignore unethical or harmful behavior that I see taking place around me, in my family, at workplace, in church? Do I just ignore that and just say, well, something, let me not get involved? I think there comes a time now that we have to get involved. We have to reach out and make a difference. All right. So hope that this inspires someone, at least one of you, to take this on. So here are some things that you can do right now. One of them is, as I said, start right now and intentionally set about doing this over the next 90 days at least. Share this link with your colleagues, the livecast link. And hey, I'm open. If you want, I can have a little online discussion with your team or with your leadership team. Just send me an email at successwithpeople.org, or you can even send me a WhatsApp message at 1-876-535-6677. Right. I'm Trevor E.S. Smith. I'm with the Success with People Academy, and we deploy the discerning model of communication and leadership to guide the enhancements of performance of individuals, teams, and organizations. We use some of these things to underpin ethical behavior, underpin how to give feedback, and we're guided by behavioral assessments from Extended Disc on the Revolutionary Things platform. So let's have a conversation, right? info@successwithpeople.org. Yep. Or you can actually send me a WhatsApp message at 876-535-6677. Thank you for your time.